South Africa has seen its fair share of political drama, but nothing could have prepared Parliament for the storm that erupted in recent days. At the center of it all stood Pieter Groenewald, the long-serving leader of the Freedom Front Plus, a man who has built his career on fiery speeches, relentless criticism of the ANC, and positioning himself as a defender of accountability. But this time, it was not Groenewald asking the hard questions. It was Groenewald himself facing them. The scandal began as whispers, rumors of irregular contracts, questionable partnerships, and shady backroom dealings tied to prison contracts worth millions of rands. At first, it sounded like just another political skirmish. After all, South Africa's politics is no stranger to allegations of corruption. But this was different. The whispers grew louder, the details sharper, and soon the accusations exploded into the open. Parliament, already a battlefield of sharp tongues and clashing egos, erupted into fury the moment the news broke. For once, the ANC, battered by its own internal fractures and haunted by public distrust, found common ground. The ruling party closed ranks, and their target was clear: Groenewald's credibility, his influence, and perhaps even his political survival. The ANC benches roared with outrage, veteran MPs and younger voices alike taking turns to shred Groenewald's image. They accused him of hypocrisy, of corruption, of betraying the very principles he claimed to champion. What was supposed to be a routine parliamentary session quickly transformed into a trial of character. One fiery speech after another painted Groenewald not as a watchdog of democracy, but as a fox caught inside the henhouse. The tension was electric, the atmosphere suffocating. Cameras caught every gesture, every outburst, every expression of fury. And through it all, Groenewald sat reeling, cornered by an avalanche of accusations that threatened to crush decades of political work. The irony was not lost on South Africans watching. For years, Groenewald had been one of the loudest voices attacking ANC leaders for their scandals and failures. He prided himself on standing outside the swamp of corruption, pointing fingers at those who had betrayed the public trust. And now, in a twist of fate, the ruling party had flipped the script. They had found their moment to strike back with vengeance, turning Groenewald's own rhetoric against him. At the core of this political earthquake is the infamous prison deal. Reports suggest irregular bidding processes, mysterious beneficiaries, and a paper trail that doesn't quite add up. Critics argue that this wasn't a minor mistake or bureaucratic oversight. This was deliberate, an attempt to funnel public money into private pockets under the guise of reforming South Africa's broken prison system. Whether Groenewald was an active participant, a silent bystander, or simply a convenient scapegoat remains the central question. But in politics, perception often matters more than proof. And right now, the perception is devastating. The ANC's eruption was volcanic. Factions that had been bitterly divided suddenly stood shoulder to shoulder. Veteran MPs who often clashed with Ramaphosa's allies joined hands with Youth League firebrands. Even those who had openly criticized the president's leadership lent their voices to the chorus of outrage. For once, the ANC seemed united, not around principle, but around the opportunity to bury an opponent who had spent years embarrassing them. In their speeches, ANC leaders framed Groenewald's scandal as proof that the opposition was no different from them. Corruption, they argued, was not an ANC disease. It infected the entire political system. This was more than a direct attack on Groenewald. It was a calculated strategy to deflect attention from the ANC's own scandals, to claim the moral high ground at least for a moment, and to remind South Africans that no politician is beyond suspicion. Opportunistic? Absolutely. Effective? Without question. For Groenewald, the scandal is existential. His credibility, the very foundation of his political career, is under siege. For years, he cultivated the image of a principled outsider, the one who would hold the powerful to account. Now, he stands accused of being entangled in the very web he once condemned. If he cannot clear his name, this could be the beginning of the end. Already, whispers of succession are circulating inside his party. Allies who once seemed unshakable are beginning to hedge their bets. Rivals are circling like sharks sensing blood in the water. The ANC, meanwhile, is reveling in his humiliation. For a ruling party battered by scandal after scandal, this is a rare moment of relief, a chance to project strength, unity, an outrage at someone else's expense. But beyond the political theater, South Africans are left with deeper, unsettling questions. Who can truly be trusted to lead? Is there a single figure in the country's politics untouched by scandal? Or is corruption now so deeply woven into the fabric of governance that every leader, sooner or later, will be exposed? For ordinary citizens, weary of broken promises and endless revelations, this scandal feels all too familiar. Some view it as proof that the opposition is no savior. Others see it as yet another distraction from the ANC's failures. And many are left wondering if South Africa is trapped in an endless cycle where every leader eventually falls to the same disease of greed and power. What is certain is that the fury in Parliament was only the beginning. Investigations will follow. Parliamentary committees will demand answers. Media exposés will dig deeper. Power struggles, both within the ANC and Groenewald's party, will intensify. And through it all, South Africans will watch, some with skepticism, others with faint hope, that maybe, just maybe, this scandal could trigger real accountability. But politics rarely delivers clean endings. More likely, this will become another chapter in the endless saga of South Africa's political battles, a story of power, betrayal, and survival. So, what do you think? Is Pieter Groenewald guilty of corruption? Or is this just another carefully crafted ANC smear campaign? Leave your thoughts below, because this debate belongs not only to politicians in Parliament but to every South African watching the future of their democracy unfold.